why do you think a genocide is happening in Gaza?
You look at the criteria for genocide in the Genocide Convention in the UN. You look at that, you look through all the articles of it, like for example, killing people, preventing births, inflicting conditions of harsh lives on people that could lead to their deaths with the requisite intent to do so. Israel fits in all of that.
Explain.
Israel, for example, has killed like at least 30,000 Palestinians.
Yeah.
Israel's inflicting a massive blockade on them, massive aid strains. We're on the brink of famine in Gaza right now, and basically millions of Palestinians are in dire shortage of food. All of that brings about their destruction in the end.
So let's put it this way. Do we agree there is a war happening there? Because all what you're describing, Israel clearly has a war in Gaza. I completely understand. The various ports of entry to Gaza are closed right now. And there is selective entry. But that is not by Israel alone. It's on Egypt, the side of Egypt also. So there is a war going on. So I'd like for you to differentiate between a war and a genocide, and explain to me.
You can't do that. No, sorry.
There's no difference between a war and a genocide.
No, you can have war and genocide. It doesn't mean when you have a war there can't be a genocide.
So please let me know why what is happening in Gaza at the moment is not a war but a genocide.
It is a war and a genocide.
But why war and genocide, not just a war?
Because there's genocide happening.
So what you're describing to me certainly would happen during a war also. Yeah, Israel has a conflict with entities in Gaza. There is a war. That much I agree. What's that?
They have a war against Palestinians, not just
They all what?
against Palestinians.
Say so. They have a declared war against Hamas. Why do you think they have a declared war against Palestinians?
They don't have a declared war against Hamas.
So who are they fighting against? Who are they fighting against?
Ordinary Palestinians.
Say so. What's your evidence for this?
Bombing them into hell.
Bombing who?
Palestinians.
Okay, listen to me carefully.
Do you know
where the Hamas is right now? Hamas leadership. Plenty of...
Yes, in Qatar, I've heard this a million times, but did you know that 50% of all infrastructure in Gaza has been bombed, as reported by the BBC?
There is war happening. We don't disagree. My question right now is, where do you think there is no Hamas in Gaza?
I'm not saying there aren't.
So how do we get them? Do you agree first of all that Hamas? Do you first of all agree Hamas are terrorists? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, in their actions. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So how do we get Hamas right now? If you have a better military strategy, what is that?
There is no military strategy to do this. Show me one instance.
So please let me know.
Show me one instance where such military strategies have brought an end to any kind of terrorist activities anywhere in the world. Iraq, Afghanistan, those all failed horribly, ridiculously bad as well. The Taliban are now in Afghanistan, and Iraq is now just a mess.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Let me ask you very simply again. Let me ask you again. Please. Let me ask again. Do you have or don't you have a strategy to capture Hamas and demolish Hamas? Do you have a strategy?
No, I don't.
You don't. So in other words, you can't help. You can't really help what is happening in Gaza.
I am like a 17-year-old, so I don't think I can.
Well, then, as a 17-year-old, please don't also take sides and accuse someone of genocide.
That doesn't. Just because I can't directly go there and stop the genocide happening, doesn't mean I can't take sides.
No, please. Why don't you come here, please? A youngster is trying hard. Please come here. Please come. But you're trying to. Are you related?
Keep going.
Please come here. So, explain to me why what is happening in Gaza today is not a mere war, but more than that it is a genocide. Explain. You need to justify, because it's a serious claim.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because the killing that's happening is not just limited to the Hamas warriors. The proportion of the Hamas people dying, of the soldiers of Hamas dying, in comparison to the civilians, is much greater the civilian casualties are much greater than the actual Hamas soldiers dying.
How do you get the figures? How do Hamas show up? How do Hamas show up in military gear?
No, it doesn't matter how they show.
No, it does matter. It does matter.
Are you justifying?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you for more details because you are.
Use the solution.
One second, please.
wait,
One
wait,
second.
wait.
One second.
Can I tell
You
you-
are
can I ask
accusing.
you a
One
direct
second.
question?
Once again, you are accusing a nation of being of committing a very serious crime. Better.
Indiscriminate
One
killing
second.
of
One second.
civilians.
That's a serious accusation.
It is true,
You
though.
better back it up with evidence. So I'm asking you again. Earlier you said you said a few Hamas operatives
the
killed
ministers have said. Let's
many
look at-
civilians.
Arul,
That's what you said.
look what the
Let me ask you
ministers have
again.
said. They've
How
called
do
them
you
Amalekites.
identify?
Why are you
Call
saying
them
that?
Amalekites.
So how do you
Amalekites
how
are
do
the
you-
people that in the Old Testament.
I'm talking about the war right now. How do you identify Hamas operatives? You please let me know.
Yeah, so your question is, how do we call it a genocide? What is
No, that was the previous question. If you want to come in there, I can ask again.
so ask that
Ask again. Okay. So, I completely agree. There is a war ongoing
Yes,
in
we both-
Gaza.
we both agree that.
We both agree on that.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you are calling the war more than just a war.
Yes.
And as a genocide also. I completely
not-
disagree.
it's not just
I
us.
completely
Okay,
disagree.
okay.
One second. I completely disagree. And therefore, I'd really like to know from you what is the
reason?
evidence,
I've got it,
evidence
I've got your
behind
question.
calling it more than a
Let's look
war
at-
and
okay,
as a
so you're
genocide.
gonna allow me to finish, yeah? So we look at what the evidence says, we look at the intentions, we look at the ministers within the cabinet. They've called them Amalekites, wipe them out. Now, in the Old Testament, you're more versed than me. Moses was called to wipe out the Amalekites. There's other ministers within the high levels of the Israeli parliament that says wipe them all out. There's other people that have said don't let them return back.
Who all out?
The Palestinians.
The Palestinians
Yes.
all out?
Yes.
Says who?
Okay, bring the things up. There's
Also-
many
also-
government
also-
ministers.
No.
I'll
Yeah.
give you the quotes.
Please show me one quote where they say wipe out all Palestinians.
Yeah, go on, you bring it up.
Let's.
Oh, look, first, give him.
I'm not into guesswork here. I'm asking
Are
you,
you aware of
show one quote where they are saying wipe out all Palestinians.
Of Gaza. Do not let them return to Gaza.
Wipe out all Palestinians.
Gaza, yes.
You know what the definition of the phrase wipe out is?
Avi Dikta, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, said Hamas lost control of the north of the Strip. We're doing a Gaza Nakba 2023.
Wipe out all Palestinians.
Within the Gaza Strip, yes.
Wipe out all Palestinians. I heard the word Hamas there. Did you hear the word Hamas there?
I didn't want to do so.
Read that quote again. I heard the word Hamas there. Did you choose to ignore it?
Arul, tell me what the Amalekites were, please. Who were the Amalekites?
No, please. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much of history you are aware of. So let's not. One second. One second, please. I'm trying to speak to him. Please. Yeah. One gentleman at a time, please. I'd like to know from you, sir. One second. You said there is someone who said wipe out all Palestinians. Who is this?
I can do that.
So, the Israeli lawmaker, Benjamin Netanyahu, Likud party, has said it was becoming increasingly clear to Israelis that all Gazans must be destroyed. Israeli media report on Tuesday.
So what are you reading right now? Please, can we get the source? Is that a quote?
Yes. Read the quote.
So the new Arab says. So Israeli lawmaker says it's becoming clear that all Gazans must be destroyed. Says who? An Israeli lawmaker. Who is this Israeli lawmaker? Do you know? Do you know who this lawmaker is? Do you know who this lawmaker is?
I've read enough.
One second.
Read it and you'll find out.
I know what I'm doing. I'm asking you, do you know who
Carry on
Netanyahu
reading it.
is?
Carry on reading it.
Do you know who Netanyahu is?
I do know. He's the prime minister.
He's who?
You don't know.
What's
Prime
that?
minister.
Okay. Has said that it was becoming increasingly clear to Israelis that all Gazans must be destroyed. Israeli media reported Tuesday. Which media? Can we please get that?
Do you want something else? Do you want-
What? Okay, so
New Arab reports this. Which media says?
Right, we're going back.
Speaker of the Knesset
Okay,
said
there's many
the
quotes.
war will never
I-
extend.
Which media?
You're asking me something off the cuff. But there's many
But
quotes.
wait a second. I'm not asking. I'm not asking anything off the cuff. I'm not asking anything off the cuff. Are you going away right now? You made a serious allegation right now, and you are saying I am asking something off the cuff. So let's come back here. So you said Hamas, only a few Hamas have been killed. What did you say then?
I
Please
didn't
repeat.
say that. I wasn't here.
So what did you say? You came here and you said
here.
something.
I didn't. I wasn't.
No, you said a few things. You said many civilians, few.
You
You, from what I remember, many civilians are killed and few Hamas operatives. How do you get to that figure? How do you find that out?
Before I get to the figure,
How do you find that out?
are you gonna let me talk?
You made this statement earlier.
let me talk?
Are you going to follow up from there or not?
Are you gonna let me talk?
Are you going to follow up from the previous point?
First,
I'm going to let you talk, but please follow up from where you left off earlier.
Can I
That's
hold
a,
the mic?
that's a very serious.
hold the mic?
No, unless you're desperate. But
I'm desperate. Let me
okay, maybe not even when you're desperate. So please let me know. Please let me know. So you are suggesting.
Can I hold the mic first?
I'm holding the mic. Please.
Why?
I'm holding the mic.
Well, let me
So
hold it.
no, I'm
Be
fine.
fair.
This is not about fairness. I'm
What's it
holding.
about? You talk when you want to talk, but you don't let someone else speak.
Okay. I'm going to ask the question again.
Will
If
will not interrupt me?
if you want to clarify what you said earlier, you can.
Will you
But you left off somewhere earlier. Genocide. You said few civilians are killed. From what I remember, you can rephrase if you want.
Few civilians are killed.
That's what you said. Oh, sorry, many. So that's many civilians are killed. Few Hamas operatives. That's what I heard from what I remember. If you want to change the narrative, you can.
This is a
Okay, cool. Where do you get your ideas from?
Okay.
Please, can you please? My camera is there.
Don't touch me.
My camera is there.
It doesn't matter.
Please,
Wait, it doesn't
that's fine. Please,
Okay, let
thank
me
you.
talk.
Can I please? Yeah.
Coming up about Israeli military
Do you have
saying
to?
right
I'll
now,
propose
the whole
my.
Palestinian visit.
Do you have to be have statistics for something in order to establish that in a population, the majority of people are civilians? In a population of a space of a country, the majority of people are not fighters. Do
This
you
is
have to-
speculation, pure speculation.
Okay, is it sane? For
This
you
is pure
Okay, wait,
speculation.
let me ask you a question. Is it sane? Is it rationally conceivable to say you have to prove to me that the majority of people in the UK are not fighters?
This is pure speculation.
Well,
How
you
many
have to
people?
prove that to
Let
me.
me ask you one question, please. Let me ask you one question, please. How many people? How many Muslims during the time of Muhammad were fighters?
What kind of a question is that? That's
Where's this
absolutely
relevant?
amazing.
How is this relevant? Are we
Very
living
relevant.
1400 years ago?
So in other words, so let's put it this way. Okay. So you haven't provided.
There were fighters and there wasn't.
Okay. Let me ask you again, please. What? So you're purely going with speculative ideas. Speculative. What is the proportion in
I'll
Gaza?
prove to you, I'll prove to you.
What is it?
Let me talk now.
No, there is no proof when there is speculation. Let me ask you a very precise question. How do you identify a Hamas operative when Israel gets into
you
Gaza?
ask me- let me ask you a
How
previous
do you
question.
precisely
Can I ask
identify
you
a Hamas operative?
Okay. Your previous question was how do you identify whether the percentage of civilians...
No, I moved on right now.
No,
How
let
do
me
you
ask you a question.
identify?
I'll
No,
tell you
you're
how.
too delayed.
Majority
Too
of the
delayed. The
population
question
are
is very
children.
simple.
Are
Too
children
delayed.
fighters?
Question right now.
Majority of
Question.
population in Gaza are
Question,
children.
question
There's
right
your-
now.
there's your proof.
How do you identify a Hamas operative when you are getting into Gaza from the side of Israel? How do you identify a Hamas operative?
Okay, let me go. For argument's sake, you can't.
Look, please.
For argument's sake, you can't.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
So
for
in other words,
argument's
your claim of genocide is failing every step of the way. Every step of the way. Well, number one, I asked you. You said more civilians are killed, less Hamas operatives. I asked you what is the evidence, and you're going with your speculative ideas. Excuse me, sir. One second. One at a time. One at a time. One speculative idea at a time. One spec. Because one speculative idea at a time. Excuse me, sir. Do you know how conversations work? Do you know how conversations? Who is the they? I'm speaking to this gentleman. So, all right, okay. So, number one, I asked. Thank you very much. You keep cutting me off right now. Please stay quiet. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, let me ask you. So, number one.
It's annoying you, isn't it?
Proportion of Hamas operatives, you don't have statistic. Number one. Number two, I asked you. Number two, I asked you specifically how to identify a Hamas. Wallahi, you can do whatever you want. How to identify a Hamas operative. Let me repeat this again. How do you identify a Hamas operative? Again, I'll give you one more chance. You are an older gentleman. When Israel gets into Gaza, how do you... Please come here. If it's so easy, please come.
I said it's not easy. It's not easy. But I do think Israel...
How do you identify? Let me repeat the question. How do you identify
I said
a
it's not
Hamas...
easy for the Israelis to do so. It's not easy.
I misheard you. I thought you said so easy. So how do you... So when you don't know, why is it so hard to identify Hamas operatives in Gaza?
I don't know the full versions. Sometimes they do. It's a small condensed place. From my understanding, I'm not an expert on that.
No. If Palestinians are so justice seeking, very friendly, it is very easy for them to give Hamas operatives up. So let me ask you again. Why is it so hard to identify Hamas operatives in Gaza?
To answer your question directly, from my understanding, I could be wrong. It's a small area, very condensed. There's many buildings, and and you get operatives within that thing that hide amongst the situation. But that does not. Let me be clear.
Let me ask you. Now you're ignoring an elephant in the room. Let me give you a simple example. Yeah. Let's say. One second. Let's say amongst us there is a murderer. And all of us know who the murderer is. All of us know because he's one of... One second, please. Excuse me, sir, please. One of us is a murderer, and we all know who the murderer is. Excuse me, sir, and speak to the gentleman, please. And if the police were to come here, how easy is it for us to say, well, this guy is a murderer? How easy for us to do that?
Aaron, we're living in a completely different... We're living in the UK.
Please stick to the example I have.
You haven't let me finish my point.
If we have a number of people here, one of us is a murderer,
You haven't let me finish my point. My point is...
and if it is easy,
you
we
asked
know.
me a question. Let me just finish the answer to the last one, Aaron, with respect, yeah? So Israel have got one of the most sophisticated intelligence services in the whole world, yeah? They've got Mossad and stuff. What you don't need to do, and please agree with me and tell me if this is wrong, to blanket bomb Muslims and Christians. Remember, there's Christians within Palestine and in the Gaza Strip. To blanket bomb them and kill innocent, and majority of those people are children. Would you not say that's wrong?
What's the evidence of the blanket bombing?
Video evidence.
Bro, have you not seen Gaza? It's completely annihilated.
What's the evidence of indiscriminate bombing?
Serious? Studio? You think it's a studio, bro? You think they got buildings?
Please speak. What's the evidence of indiscriminate bombing?
Every single news agency, forget Al Jazeera, you can look at BBC, ITV, you can see the children are dying. You've got the Gaza ministry the numbers do come from Gaza, but then Israel always confirmed generally that afterwards the numbers are there or thereabouts.
My dear friend, what's your name?
I'd rather not say my name.
Okay, maybe I'll call you just friend. Friend, this is the problem, yeah? You have told me there is no way to identify a Hamas operative when Israel gets in. You have agreed. You said it's really hard. You said it's really hard. Number one. Let me. You said it's really hard. I made the point that it is very easy for the locals to really say, hey, these guys are from Hamas. Very easy to do that. Are you aware of any such? Excuse me. Excuse me. 1 second. Are you aware? One second.
You have to come back to me. Don't avoid me. Come back to me.
Are you aware of why the civilians are not pointing to where the Hamas operatives are?
Maybe that's
Okay.
perhaps.
Number one, we've got they are the elected. We talk about democracy. They are the elected people, whether we like it or not in the West. They are elected. Number two, they're the people that are providing the food for those innocent people. Number three, the Gazan people, from my understanding, this is not a one-off. They've been regularly bombed. What happens is when you regularly bomb people, they're going to go to those that there are going to be some people that do become extreme.
Now you're expanding the scope of the discussion right now. I asked you a very simple question. It doesn't matter whether you did not. You gave a reply, but it wasn't an answer to the question I asked. I asked the question. it is very easy, regardless. One second. It is very easy when the army wants to get in. It is very easy for Gazan quote unquote civilians to say these are Hamas operatives, to identify, to pinpoint. So why is that not easy?
We don't know if
You may not know.
No.
They know.
How do you know they know?
Well, they're part of the. Okay, you tell me. So are you saying? One second. Are you saying
Arun, there's terrorists here in this country. We don't know who they are.
Hamas aren't terrorists for Gazans? They are the ruling, elected people. They know who are bearing arms. Every family knows who are taking up arms to live every day. So please don't compare them against terrorists in the Western world. So let me ask you again. Let me ask you again. Let me ask you, why aren't the civilians exposing? Why did you push him away? Why are you taking over? In other words, are you saying you can't answer the question? Are you saying you can't answer the question right now? Why? Do you know of one?
Show me the evidence.
Do you?
Show me the evidence.
I'll come in a minute. But before that, excuse me, sir. Before that, let's wrap up what we spoke about. Do you know of one incident? That's fine. No, thank you very much. Do you know
Are
of?
you refusing?
Excuse me, sir. I am refusing to engage with you because you, I believe, will not engage with the questions I have asked. Do you know of one incident? Do you know of one incident where civilians have given up Hamas operatives? Do you know one incident?
Can you show me evidence where everybody knows that every single person who has signed up to
Now, that's not the question asked. Do you know of one?
You prove that. Prove it now.
Do you know of one? I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I'm really coming there. In other words, you are advocates without a clue. That's who you are. Okay, if you're kids, then stay away. Then let me speak to an adult here. If you are no such. So can we please quickly agree? Because it's a fact, from what we understand, that there is no incident so far, in my awareness, of civilians handing over Hamas operatives, even though it is very easy.
I don't know.
Okay, but you have. But you have suggested, despite not knowing very basic facts, and despite agreeing, it is really hard to get to identifying Hamas. Very, very hard. You are accusing Israel of various things. Before accusing, you at least need to get to know some details. Let me ask you now again.
Wait, can I just make a point on what you just
You can
said?
try, but I like to
what
see.
I do know, Israel do infiltrate Hamas and they do work within the Palestinian people, yeah? This is known by Mossad, yeah? So they work, so they can identify those people. And in fact, in some instances, they have identified people and have targeted them. For me, if you want to target the thing, those people who have abducted those poor innocent people within Israel, target them. But don't blanket bomb.
But we agreed already. It is very hard to identify Hamas. You said it's really hard. Didn't you say this?
Okay.
Let me ask.
No, I did. But I also but to qualify what I'm saying is it's not right, Arun. And I'm sure as a man of the Bible and as someone that preserves life and that believes in love, to blanket bomb innocent people.
That's a serious accusation you're repeating, despite agreeing earlier. Not in my knowledge. It really not in my knowledge. Not in my knowledge. I'll describe. One second, my friend. I'll describe. Excuse me, sir. You're either children or you're not children. Choose one of them. Either you're going to engage or you're not going to engage. Because when I ask them questions, they are saying, yeah.
Why do you think that there isn't blanket bombing? What's your evidence that there isn't blanket bombing?
I'll describe to you what I see is happening. Very good. In my view, Hamas have perpetrated one of the heinous acts against the nation. Learn to listen, my dear friends. Against the nation of Israel. We'll come to that later. Come to that. One of the most heinous acts. Israel has to respond, and Israel has to find a solution of making sure this does not repeat. Israel has to do that. Now, you might think you have a better strategy. I'd like to come there in a little bit. But for now, just to respond to the question you asked, very simply put, in my view, it is rather really hard. It is very easy to maybe identify a few top officials of Hamas. But even then, it is really hard to find out where they are hiding. And it is almost impossible for them to be hiding without external support. Now, but that's one difficulty. But there are thousands and thousands of Hamas operatives who are, ordinary operatives, and it will be really, really hard for Israel to find out, even with the extreme level of intelligence that Mossad has. So in my view, they are faced with the situation where they need to. This is your lie. You did not have statistics, please. Excuse me. Let your elder speak, please. So in my view,
I don't agree with his views. He's making
but let me make it very, very clear.
I like the biblical teaching of turn the other cheek, have that love for the and that have a legal. But just to blanket.
Did you not start by talking about genocide? Did you say this or not?
I believe it is a genocide.
So let's stay with that topic rather than stay with that.
I'm not the only one. I believe there's many Israelis that support me within that.
Doesn't matter. Look, truth isn't determined by who believes what. Truth is determined by the evidence.
And the evidence is there.
And this is where I asked you multiple questions so far. I asked you, what is the evidence for genocide?
And we gave you the quotes from the leaders as well. We showed you some.
From the Arab news. It's from the Arab news. And they are stating, they did not quote a particular source. They said Israel news.
We know.
We need to make progress. Let me ask you this very simply, please. Among the Muslims,
Let's for a recap for people, we've given quotes of people like Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the commander-in-chief.
You did not give a quote. You did not give a quote. Excuse me. You. No. Wait a second. I asked you.
There's many people within that.
I asked you in particular whether there is appetite among Israeli leadership that they are going to wipe out all Palestinians, which is your claim. You claim that without evidence. We quickly got to the bottom. Please, my dear friend, please, you speak to me. Please don't be distracted. And so
to move the conversation,
move the conversation.
Search, have Israeli ministers.
Please, we need to get to the details right now. So number one, we agreed on this, and number two, we said that it is very hard to identify who Hamas operatives are. We agreed. Let me ask you a very simple question right now. Let me ask you, what do you think Israel should do? To wipe out Hamas, what do you think Israel should do?
Okay. Let's start with what I...
No, we're not talking about Islam right now. I'm asking him, and I'm not asking you for your Islamic strategy. Islamic strategy is that, not interested right now. I'm asking you, what do you think Israel must do?
Let's start off with what they shouldn't do. What they shouldn't do is...
Please, let him speak. Don't touch me, please. Please. No, let him speak.
Number one. But what we shouldn't do is bomb people. Jews, Christians, Palestinians. Remember, Palestinians aren't just Muslims, yeah? So
You're getting to a strategy, please. In the interest of time, please give me a strategy.
We shouldn't bomb them. If you should be patient, number one, do your research, find out, Mossad can go in, they can infiltrate, they can find the leadership if they need to, and they can have it one-on-one. They can go in there and they can do targeted killings as the US and the British forces have done in the past.
Who are the Hamas? I'm a little bit confused right now. Okay. Is the Hamas only 10 people, or who are the Hamas?
Thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. We're talking about hundreds of thousands. I'm asking you. What should the strategy for Israel be? One second. I'm speaking to him, please. One second. Please focus, please. How should Israel deal with the hundreds and thousands of these Hamas operatives.
I don't agree there's hundreds of thousands of them.
Well, if you don't agree, on a simple fact, I don't think we can have a sensible conversation. How many are there? Please let me know. How many are there?
The reality is we don't know.
No, you tell me. You tell. What is your prediction? What's your prediction? Hamas rules over Gaza. What's your prediction?
I'm going to let you, so you're going to ask me a question.
What's your prediction?
Aaron, let me speak, yeah? So,
But you need to give me an answer. What's the prediction of how many Hamas operatives exist?
move the mic away. So to answer your question directly, no one knows how many Hamas operatives there are. No, we don't. And number two, but what we do know is every time you bomb them and every time you do these military campaigns, it increases their popularity.
No, it doesn't matter. I don't care. You don't have a strategy. And I'm really sad. Look. 1 second. Do you think Israel should survive? Please let me know.
No.
I think Israel have absolutely a right to
And
survive.
therefore, let's do it.
I believe I value Jewish life, I value Christian life, I value Muslim life.
Very good. So, Jewish is an ethnicity. I don't know why you're confusing religion with that. Okay, Jewish life, we agree. So, please, 1 second. Please put yourself in the shoes of Jewish leadership today. The leadership
I have Jewish friends.
does not matter. Just because you have Jewish friends, it doesn't mean you're making sense. Please tell me, give me one good strategy for the nation of Israel to deal with the hundreds and thousands of Hamas operatives. Sticking, are you saying that? How many are there? How many Hamas operatives are there? How many Hamas operatives are there?
Can we agree there's not hundreds of thousands?
How many are there?
Hamas operatives?
How many are there?
No, well, listen, we can't speculate.
How many are there?
We don't need to. We don't. If we don't know, we don't know.
How many are there? Guess.
We don't
Guess.
to guess because I don't know.
2,
That's what you do.
10,
In academic discussion,
100. So let me. In other words, can I? Okay. So okay.
what we do know, every time you bomb Palestinians, there's going to be more of them.
Can I give you?
If someone bombed and killed my
Okay.
mom, I would want to annihilate those
Okay,
people.
good. My dear friend, one second. So you are saying you don't want, excuse me, sir. You are saying you don't know how many Hamas operatives are there. One second, excuse me, sir. I'm speaking to you. My dear young friend, please, I'm speaking to you. How many you don't know? You don't know, yeah? So how do you know? 1 second. You don't know how many are there. So why do you think most of the people who are killed today are civilians when you don't know how many Hamas operatives are
What I
there?
do know, from my understanding, is Israel actually funded Hamas when it
Irrelevant. We're talking about irrelevant. You're just bringing in more rabbit holes so you can hide somewhere very, very deep. So far, in many questions I've asked, you haven't got to the bottom of any question, my dear friend. I'd really like you to get to the bottom of at least some question somewhere. Please, let me ask you again.
Yeah, please.
When you don't know, because to me that's very, very, to me.
I don't know how many operatives there are.
When you don't know how many are there, let's at least not be, 1 second, at least don't be hypocritical. When you don't know how many are there, how many Hamas operatives are there, how would you ever get to know what proportion of who are killed are civilians versus Hamas operatives?
So I think your question centers around strategy.
No, I'm talking to you right now. You have accused a nation of genocide. And for that, for your accusation, one of the important points you brought up was that many civilians, few Hamas operatives is part of the storyline. I'd like to find out, if you don't know who are Hamas operatives, how do you know what is the percentage of Hamas operatives who are killed?
Listen, I'm saying there is certainly some people that Hamas operatives that are killed. But
How many? How much? What's the percentage, please? Rough percentage.
The large amount, the stats say, is mainly children that have died.
No, please. I'm not, excuse me. I don't want you to, excuse me, my dear friend.
I don't think you're being
I
genuine.
don't. You haven't given any meat to chew on right here so far. So far, no meat to chew on. How to identify a Hamas operative? No answer. Who told you that all Gazans must be wiped out by an Israeli leader? Not the quote you gave, some random weird source there. Number two, no answer. No quote from a neutral source. Number three, what is a good what is a good strategy to take over Hamas? No answer. How many Hamas? I know. How many Hamas operatives are there? No answer. What is the proportion of the Hamas operatives who have been killed? No answer. My dear friend, can I please recommend something? We do. Are you a Muslim yourself?
I am a Muslim.
On Wednesdays we do live streams. Absolutely, because I think you are a sensible man. I'd really get to the bottom of many things that we have spoken of right now. Operation, one second. I am a very genuine man. It's really hard to stay on focus. You try to stay on focus and at least answered some of the questions very honestly. So I really appreciate what you've done so far. Only at the end, I think you made things up and you even gave a strategy to your friend. But Wednesday, 8 p.m., we do London.
Try not to get people. I was saying to people, don't get triggered. Let's have a sensible conversation.
That's a good point.
And let's both. You're Christian. I'm Muslim. Let's just Let's pray for the innocent people.
Absolutely.
Would you agree
completely
with that?
agree?
You pray
Innocent
for
lives being lost is a
Jewish,
tragic
Christian,
affair.
Muslim, wherever they are, let's all pray for them and let's just. But what I do think,
Innocent
let's
lives being
stop
lost
all
is
this-
a tragic thing.
Yeah, of course it is.
I want
It
the
has to be
war.
felt. It has to be felt
I
from-
want the
from your
war
heart,
to
man,
get
from
to
your
an
heart.
end.
I
I want
hate
the
it.
war. Believe it or not, I want the war to get to an end ASAP.
Yes.
But the frank reality that I find is Hamas still are at large, and this is my problem. And like you rightly said, you don't have a strategy to deal with this. In which case, Israel has a huge issue still. So can we please catch up? Wednesday, 8 p.m. YouTube Operation Stephen. Stephen with the PH. Could I expect you there?
I don't want to commit to it because I think there's some football, and I'm a football fan. So
What's that?
I'm a football fan, so I think there's it's to do with the Premiership title race.
Don't worry.
But if not, speak to someone probably a bit more knowledgeable than me. I'm not the most knowledgeable on this.
The problem is this: when you're not knowledgeable, you should not pick sides.
I have enough knowledge. I still feel like if people watch the video back, they'll see the ludicrous arguments that you made, and with respect, and they'll see who was right. People could check the references.
Can't be right or wrong without stats, without statistics. And this, yeah. But lovely seeing you. God's blessings. I'd really look forward to more details later, more conversation later.